All right, let's get right into it. We're going to break down something absolutely critical for anyone deploying AI agents safely and, actually at scale. It's called the agent trust stack. And honestly, this is the architecture that could literally make or break your entire AI strategy.
So let me ask you a question, a really direct one that every leader out there needs to think about. Imagine this, your brand new AI agent just did something big, something critical. Can you, right now, walk into a boardroom or face your customers or even a regulator and prove, without a shadow of a doubt, that it did the right thing? For most people, the honest answer is probably not. And that right there is the heart of the problem we're tackling.
And the reality here is, well, it's pretty startling. Get this. A whopping 88% of companies that are already using AI agents, they've already had security incidents. This isn't some far-off futuristic problem. It is happening today.
So why? Why is this happening? Well, for starters, almost half of these agents are running on insecure, shared API keys. Just think about that for a second. It's like giving a dozen of your employees the exact same master key to every single room in your office building. That's literally what's happening, but at a massive machine scale. And if that wasn't bad enough, get this. A full third of all these deployments have zero, and I mean zero, basic audit trails. So when something goes wrong, you can't even investigate. There's no black box recorder, no log, no nothing. It's just a very expensive mystery.
So let's be super clear here. The problem isn't that the agents can't do the work. They can. The capability is there. The real gap, the crisis we're facing, is the total lack of a trust infrastructure. We're missing the framework to govern, to prove, and frankly, to defend what these agents are doing.
And this all leads us to what we're calling the agent trust crisis. And look, this isn't just some techie challenge for the IT department. No, this is a fundamental business risk that honestly threatens the entire promise of what enterprise AI is supposed to be.
Okay, but it's not all doom and gloom. There is a solution. It's called the agent trust stack. And I want you to think of it like a 4-layer architecture that's built from the ground up to make every single agent deployment defensible. And we're not just talking about checking a compliance box here. This is about making your AI strategy, well, survivable.
So this stack is built on 4 key layers. They're all distinct, but they're totally interconnected. We've got identity, policy, observability, and liability. Let's break each one down one by one and see how they all lock together to create that secure foundation we need.
All right, let's start with layer 1, and honestly, this is the most urgent one: agent identity. The question we're trying to answer here is super simple, but it's also absolutely critical. Who, or maybe more accurately, what is actually doing stuff on your network?
And when you look at the data, you see a huge gap. More than 78% of agents are out there working without a proper, dedicated identity. Remember those shared keys we talked about? Or even worse, hard-coded credentials? That's what they're using. And what that does is create this massive, totally invisible insider threat surface.
So what's the fix? Well, you have to start treating each AI agent like its own unique employee. I mean, think about it. You'd give a new hire their own login, right? It's the same idea. Each agent gets its own credentials scoped to do only its specific job. They use short-lived tokens that expire fast, and they only get just-in-time access for the really sensitive stuff. At the end of the day, identity is the absolute bedrock of accountability.
Okay, so that's identity. Now, let's move up to the next layer and see how this all starts to build on itself. Once we know who is acting, the next logical step is to control what they're allowed to do. And this, my friends, is the world of enforceable policy. And here, we see this huge disconnect in most companies. On one hand, you have 92% of leaders saying yes, governance is absolutely essential. But on the other hand, only 21%, just 21%, have a mature system to actually enforce it. That is a massive gap between what people want to do and what's actually happening.
And that gets to the heart of it, right? A policy that's just sitting in a Google Doc or some dusty wiki page that no agent can read, that's not a policy, it's a suggestion. For this to actually work, policies have to be written as code. They need to be machine-readable rules that are technically automatically enforced in real time. That's the real difference between a hopeful suggestion and an actual control.
Which brings us right to layer 3, forensic observability. Here's the deal. When an agent does anything, you need a perfect, unchangeable record of exactly what happened.
Because if, or let's be honest, when something goes wrong, you have to be able to forensically rebuild that entire event in minutes, not days or weeks.
And you guessed it, we see another massive gap here. A third of companies have no audit trails for their agents. Over half of all agents are running around with no active monitoring at all. I mean, without that data, any kind of investigation is just pure guesswork. You are completely flying blind.
Yeah, this quote really hits the nail on the head. Being able to quickly and accurately figure out what an agent did, that is the line in the sand. It's what separates a mature, scalable AI program from a very expensive, ticking liability. In this game, speed and accuracy are everything.
And that leads us perfectly to the final and I'd argue most crucial layer of the stack, liability. Now we're moving beyond the tech stuff and into the world of lawyers and finance. And the question is as simple as it is terrifying. When an autonomous agent acts, who owns the outcome? Who's on the hook?
You know, the rise of these agents is forcing a complete shift in how we even buy technology. The old way, the SaaS model, it was all about uptime. Is the service on? But this new agentic model, it has to be about outcomes. Did the agent do the right thing? Your vendor contracts have to evolve. We need to move from just guaranteeing the lights are on to guaranteeing the quality of decisions and, yeah, getting indemnification for when these things act on their own.
And really, this is the bottom line on liability. If your vendor contracts don't say, in black and white, who pays the bill when an agent goes rogue, then guess what? You do. You have implicitly accepted all of that risk. You are essentially self-insuring against a potentially huge financial hit that you haven't even tried to quantify. That's a scary thought.
Okay, so we've laid out the crisis and we've walked through the four-layer solution. The big question now is, so what? What do I actually do about it? So let's shift gears from the what to the how with a straightforward, no-nonsense action plan for leaders. Here are 5 practical things you can start doing like tomorrow. 1. Create an agent trust board with people from across the business and make sure it has real teeth. 2. Standardize a trust scorecard so you can measure every single agent against these 4 layers. 3. Go look at your vendor contracts now and start updating them for this new world. 4. Run agent failure drills every quarter to see where your weak spots are. And 5. Don't try to boil the ocean. Deploy the stack piece by piece, starting with that foundation, identity. And here's what that actually looks like in practice. See, this isn't some vague, high-level strategy. It's a project plan. You've got clear owners, the CIO, the CISO, legal, and you've got achievable timelines to get this stuff done. This is the kind of tangible roadmap you can literally take and share in your very next leadership meeting.
So let's just end on this one final thought because it's so important. A lot of people think of governance and trust as the brakes, something that slows down innovation. But that is completely the wrong way to see it. The agent trust stack, it's not the brakes, it's the engine. The absolute fastest, most effective way to scale AI across your whole company is to first make every single deployment trustworthy. Because trust isn't just some nice-to-have feature. It is the entire foundation.